now and go over to Shai Franklin, who is a partner at Gotham Government Relations. He's joining us from New York. Shai, thank you very much for joining us on the show. So, firstly, what do you make of the comments from Putin and Biden? Are we likely to see these talks go ahead anytime soon?
I think it's clear that we won't. President Biden was partly responding to allegations from the Russian side that somehow the Ukrainians were being restrained from negotiating with Russia because of Western pressure. So President Biden wanted to make clear that the United States is not forcing Ukraine's hand either way. And it's Ukraine that's been pushing very hard, and President Zelensky has been pushing very hard to defend Ukraine's sovereignty. And Mr. Peskov, the Kremlin spokesman from the Russian side, even referred to these 4 territories as new territories, Russia's new territories. These were not Russian territories before, and they want them to be considered Russian territories now. That's simply never going to happen. And if it did happen, then the logic is that the next time, in 2 years or 3 years, when it suits President Putin or his successor, they would then, having gotten recognition for those territories, move on to additional territories. It would only encourage further taking of Ukrainian territory if they could.
And Shai, we were just discussing with our correspondent in Moscow there how it would be very difficult for Biden and Putin to find that common ground. Do you think that they're going to find a compromise?
I'm afraid not. The only negotiations that could be effective would be negotiations for the staging of a Russian withdrawal, negotiating over the degree of Russian reparations to Ukraine, reimbursement for Western expenses, tens of billions of dollars to defend Ukraine, of course, bringing war criminals to justice on both sides, but primarily on the Russian side. The very act of war by Putin was a violation of it was a war against peace. It was a crime against peace. So those are the negotiations, I think, that Americans and French are talking about, because it's clear that if Putin wanted to end the war, he could end the war today.
Well, but Shai, essentially, though, we need to hear from Zelensky as well, don't we? Because there's a lot of talk about, Biden essentially saying that he's willing to broker talks. But have we heard anything more from Zelensky about this?
I don't think we have, and I don't think we need to. President Zelensky, again, has been very, very clear. He could not continue as president of Ukraine if he were to agree to negotiations on the absolute terms that Russia has declared. As a precondition would be recognizing these territories, including Crimea and Donbass, that the Russians have either seized or have tried to seize. And these new territories that Peskov refers to, some of them are not completely occupied by Russia. So this would be actually ceding additional territory to Russia. It's simply unrealistic. I think that President Putin is basically trolling the West. And President Biden made clear that, of course, we would welcome negotiations, but only under reasonable conditions and conditions that comport with international law.
Okay, Shai Franklin, partner at Gotham Government Relations in New York, thank you very much for that insight.